The first thing that we do, and you did this when you wrote down your information on the page, was you did an act of clarification. Now, you're clarifying your storyline. You're clarifying basically your business case. If you successfully do this, and when you're selling it, you get your neighbor beyond this type of look in their eyes, a so what look, then you have won. You've made the first step toward bringing change. If the person sits there and says, okay, yeah, I get what you're talking about, but you haven't heard what I've got going on, they're not engaged in or concerned with your issue. So making sure that you clarify the so what is really clarifying the consequence of your issue. And the consequence, ideally, is not local, it's systemic, and ideally, it's been monetized. So did each and every one of you monetize the consequence of your process issue? Is it a $5,000 issue, a $50,000 issue, a $100,000 issue? Because bottom line is, literally, the bottom line. If I'm going to ask people to divert resources from this activity to that activity, I'm probably going to have some sort of cost justification. And if I can't justify the investment in the new IT solution, or raising the bar in terms of the skill sets that we hire, or increasing the head count, or, I've got to basically come up with a pitch that explains why this is justified. Because just the fact that you're in pain isn't going to be good enough. Now, if I can clarify that we have an issue, the next thing I got to do is get consensus that it's worthy of our attention, which is really getting it to the top of the prioritization list. So I can have people tell me, you've got issues, and I say, yep, I feel your pain, but it's not as important as mine. So conceding that my issue is less relevant than your issue, and that I'm going to apply my resources to your needs, is going to be a very, very hard sales pitch, unless the person that's sitting here is able to get a clear understanding that if I fix this, my pain goes away. So I have to clarify frequently the cause and effect relationship between each of these steps. Now, it's not just the cause and effect relationship, because as I go down this supply chain, the cost consequence generally goes up exponentially. The farther down we go the road, the more it costs us to deal with the failure when it surfaces. And what I'm doing here is I'm isolating this piece of the puzzle, and that's the part that I'm trying to monetize, that I'm familiar with. But the reality of it is, this is not the total cost. This is just a piece of the total cost. And I've got a person over here that says, well, I don't know what your problem is. I'm not in that much pain. And what they're failing to understand, though, is this is what's causing that. We're not operating in isolation. We're part of a continuous system in which is completely dependent on each other's success. So if I'm in a position to say, look, do you agree that we have an issue? Here's what it's costing us. And it could be the cost of inaction as well. If we don't do this, ... this is what likely is going to happen. I need some historical data to have that type of argument, though. But I got to get people all to agree that's an issue before I can get the final, which is basically commitment to do something about it. And if you don't have all three C's, there's a high probability that you'll get a lot of people that will sit there and say, good luck. I agree, you have a real issue. But they're not necessarily going to lean into the problem and do anything about it.